film, you say the law is above the law. And I think that's something that a lot of people are feeling right now with the images that we're seeing from Minnesota and from elsewhere in the country. How do you make sense of these images that we're seeing around the country right now?
One of the messages of this film is that there's a world that most Americans live in which the police are an image of trust and morality and upstandingness. And we would like to live in that world too. Some of us even thought we did. You know what I mean? But I think for most of America, they spend many years believing that. And I think what has happened really over the past 15 years or so, honestly, since you got the camera phone, is people are very gradually being disabused um, of that fact. And so, it begins with seeing it happen to Black people. It begins with seeing it happen to Black men and Black women right in front of you. And some white folks see that and they decide that, they don't want to live in a world where things like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decide they're going to stand up, and they quickly realize that the law can be turned against them too.
Mm.
And that is, I don't rejoice in any of that. But I do come back to the fact that what you're seeing play out across the country is connected to the story. Trump wanted to put the Central Park Five to death. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the same people. These are not, different people. They're bullies, and when they get the tools of the state and the violence of the state, they use it upon whoever, and that's this story.
Yeah. Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Let It Be Known, and that was Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I can't disagree with him, Nia.
Yeah, it's a sad case. Welcome to everybody that's joining us for Let It Be Known. This is where we're bringing you the headlines from a perspective that you're not seeing, which is the Black perspective, which is important because what we're seeing happening across America is nothing new to us. It's surprising as how now they're going after their own, but it's nothing new to us, Stacey. We're not it's just sad that we're going backwards. We feel the sense of backwards and trauma, because think about it. A lot of our ancestors, Stacey, never even got justice. Never received justice. Never.
Right. And it was a story yesterday we brought about some you had the story, man. After 70 years he was executed, and they exonerated him. I think it was 70 years later.
70 years later.
Yeah.
But there's so many more that never have received justice and probably never will get justice. I mean, Breonna Taylor has never gotten justice. Trayvon Martin has never gotten justice.
Yeah. Ta-Nehisi brings up those points, and now everybody has a reckoning. Everybody has been awakened to the fact that everybody's in danger under the current conditions that we are in now, and that is something new to this country, where it doesn't matter your skin color right now. You are in danger from this runaway administration, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Ta-Nehisi's father, folks, is Paul Coates. He's a Black publisher in Baltimore area, book publisher, and he's a delight to talk to. I've never spoken with Ta-Nehisi, but I've spoken with Paul several times. Paul is a very deep man. You see where Ta-Nehisi, although Paul refuses to take any credit for all of his son's accomplishments, but you could see where Ta-Nehisi gets his intellect from, not just from the books, but how he was raised. If you ever get a chance, and Paul's a very open guy, to talk to Paul Coates, I would advise talk to Paul Coates. You get some seriously great insight. I think it's Coates Books or something like that is the name of his company there in Baltimore. But it's a really insightful family. And Paul, obviously, we know Ta-Nehisi is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and has always kept his finger on the pulse of what's going on. And to hear him break it down so simple, because it is that simple. Everybody is in danger, and there's Paul Coates.
Yeah, definitely support our Black small businesses as as we look to boycott, or the nation looks to boycott on Friday. Support Black Classic Press. So is it a bookstore, or is it just a book printing company?
It's a book printing company. I'm not sure. He may have a store as well.
Okay, got it.
Um,
Okay, well, support the
yeah,
books that he prints.
yeah, exactly. RNG says blame the six Klan conservatives in the Supreme Court. They made Trump a king. The Brett Kavanaugh's stop has made racial profiling legal. Yeah, and also what's going on today that we hadn't seen in the past is what happened with Ilhan Omar. The congresswoman was attacked at her town hall. It's the second attack on a Congressional Black Caucus member in 4 days. That has to be disconcerting, to say the least.
Well, what makes this really, disturbing, and it's trauma, it's terror, right? Because we remember there were also two lawmakers killed just last year, wasn't it last year? We're talking about Melissa and Mark Hortman, and the shooting of John and Yvette Hoffman. And so the attack on electeds in this state, is traumatizing. But you saw Representative Omar. She was ready to duke it up with him.
Oh, you saw that? I caught that
She was ready
too.
to duke it up with him. But I mean, that's the defense mechanism, because you have elected officials being murdered, being attacked, and this is all under the Trump Klan administration.
Yeah. Yeah. She it's not a laughing matter. It's but I had to laugh because you're 100% right. When I watched that, wow, she was ready. She was ready to defend herself, which
Right.
hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and
I'm not going out like that, she
Yeah,
said.
she tweeted, she said, "I'm okay. I'm a survivor. So this small agitator isn't going to intimidate me from doing my job. I don't
Yeah.
let bullies win. Grateful to my incredible constituents who rallied behind me, Minnesota strong." Those
Yeah.
were her remarks after that.
Austin says, "Don't let her size fool you." And Mike V makes a very, very serious point, Neil. That could have been acid thrown across her face.
Right, right. And the Congressional Black Caucus also released a statement saying, "We stand with Congresswoman Omar and the city of Minneapolis at this crucial time and call on our colleagues across the aisle to step up and de escalate this dangerous rhetoric that fuels attacks like the one we witnessed this evening." They said, "Enough is enough. We are outraged." And so those are her colleagues, speaking up as well.
Yeah. Nobody should want this. But, no matter what side that somebody might plant themselves on, left, right, them, Republican, nobody should want this. It's such it should be such an outrage to everyone. I think what's lost, one of the many things that's lost is that people are not, as much as they're expressing their disdain for this administration, disdain for Stephen Miller and Carolyn Levitt, no one's throwing white powder at them. No one is attacking them physically. But this
Right.
administration has weaponized, and it's so interesting. They keep playing these videos, Neil, of former Vice President Kamala Harris, of former President Barack Obama, and others who said some time ago, certainly on the campaign trail, they were going to weaponize the military against the citizens. And we are seeing it in real time and
Yeah.
on a consistent basis.
Yeah. I think too, though, that it's important to focus on, what is being done. Because, this is a song we sing as Black folks, and we know it play by play. But as you see, Representative Omar, Representative Frost, they continue to do the work of the people. And I hope that American citizens see that type of respect in how they are for the people. I know Brandon Scott, as we talk about lawmakers being attacked, they continue to fight for the least of these. Brandon Scott posted yesterday, ICE has now detained our congressional delegation entry to an ICE facility once again. And so you see these lawmakers, and then you think about LaMonica McIvy out in New Jersey. She's facing years, like 20 years in prison. You know what I'm saying? So, they're being attacked, they're being arrested by this administration, and its followers, and some have even lost their lives fighting for justice. Meanwhile, you have Republicans across the aisle who won't even unfold their arms. They won't even unfold their arms to do something about this crisis. It's so bad. It's bad when the NRA starts going against Republicans in their talking points.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's my point too. It's like you have a administration that by several accounts, whether you believe it or not, has the lowest approval rating in history, and yet, as angry as people are, no one's attacking them physically. They're attacking them with words of disapproval, which is what the American way has always been, or supposedly has always been, right? The right to protest, the right to freedom of speech. Yet those without power, those who are challenging power, are being physically assaulted and in some cases eliminated.
Right. So we'll definitely need to, for the saints out there, the praying saints, let's make sure we keep our elected officials lifted up in prayer as they do, as John Lewis says, stir up some good trouble. And this behavior pattern that we see happening is affecting our school systems as well. Check this out. 5 white high school students from Virginia have filed a $10 million civil lawsuit claiming defamation against a principal who suspended them after they allegedly gifted fried chicken and watermelon to a Black special education student. Now, according to the Virginia Pilot, back in March of last year, the special education student was presented with a birthday card full of handwritten well wishes and other gifts, including candy, a bag of fried chicken, watermelon, and grape Kool-Aid. Now, the principal sent a notice to the students' parents, making them aware of the incident and the consequences of suspicion. And according to the lawsuit, the principal's initial memo contained reckless disregard for the truth, causing harm to the plaintiff's reputations, emotional well-being, and prospects. Now, the suit claims the students have been physically threatened, stalked, and confronted by strangers, and that they have suffered damage to their property. But what about the damage they caused to the student?
Didn't you say it was a special ed student too?
Yeah.
I mean,
watermelon, a bag of fried chicken, and Kool-Aid.
The scary part of all this is that they will either win the lawsuit or it will be settled in their favor.
Because of the way that Trump has stripped DEI, and he just was talking about reversal civil rights for white men. And this is a perfect example of setting precedent for that racist behavior.
Yeah, that is
and they've been traumatized, but you're going to give a special needs Black child, all the things that represent racism and stereotypes. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, these are little things that are happening, and we don't even get to hear about them because we're so bombarded with these headlines that, are coming out of the Trump clan. And I'm talking about from Minnesota to Gaza to Venezuela to, TikTok, and Black people are being tremendously impacted and affected by the mentality, the theology, the ideology that this Trump clan is putting out in the country and the world.
Whatever happened to live and let live? You know,
It only
whatever
applies
happened?
for the 1% now.
Oh my gosh, it is things have gotten too far gone, as James Brown famously said.
And I'll say what Marvin said: "Mercy, mercy me."
Mercy me, yeah. Oh gosh, and Nancy Wall said the president showed he doesn't care about special needs people. Remember, he made fun of them. Yeah, that was not one of
Great point, Nancy.
not one of his final moments, right?
And it's amazing how when you read what she said, it immediately popped in my head.
Immediately, yeah.
The words and the behavior.
The behavior, it's interesting, Neil, because as I was reading it, I could visualize when he did that. Man, it's unbelievable. We're gonna go down to Louisiana now. Here's another issue that's flying under the radar with everything else going on, and it shouldn't ever fly under the radar. The number of prisoners paroled in Louisiana has dropped big time under Governor Jeff Landry. It's at its lowest point in 20 years. ProPublica is reporting that the parole board freed 185 prisoners during Landry's tenure, compared with 858 in the 2 years before his January 2024 inauguration, which is a 78% drop. Hundreds of people who have been paroled under previous administrations now remain in state prison with little chance of earning an early release through good behavior or by showing that they are fit to re-enter society and they are unlikely to reoffend. Landry and his fellow Republicans in the state legislature overhauled the parole system through a 2024 law that banned parole altogether for anyone convicted after August 1st of 2024. That overhaul has impacted tens of thousands of people incarcerated. They're just staying there. They're keeping them there. And of course, Louisiana prisons comprise, African Americans heavily overrepresented in Louisiana prisons. They comprise about 66 to 67% of the prison population in Louisiana, while they make up just 33% of the general state population. So they're just locking up Black folks in Louisiana.
Yeah, and this is all due to the bill he signed called the Truth in Sentencing Bill, which will require an inmate to serve 85% of their sentence before they can receive sentence reduction for good behavior, and reduces the amount of time by which a sentence can be reduced. So in Louisiana, you got to serve 85%. In other states, that ratio is different. And so, what this says to me is that, he's in partnership with GEO and CoreCivic. Privatized prisons and lawmakers are notorious. I've seen stories to where the lobbyists for these prisons will write a bill, and the lawmakers sometimes are too lazy to take the letterhead off, and they have submitted a bill with the letterhead on the bill. I mean, that's just how lazy the lawmakers are. So, I mean, these privatized prisons have their summits and their meetings at Trump's golf courses. They're a big reason why, we say, oh, the Trump plan is cruel, but also they're making money for these privatized prisons because they're the ones that are building these detention centers for undocumented immigrants. So it's just a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah, Patricia Jackson says have to safeguard prison inventory, and RG says we try to tell people in Louisiana that Landry was evil. Most sentences are day for day now. No early release.
They got to serve 85% of the time. A bill he signed into law.
Yeah, it's a sad time. Yeah, this country has always locked up more of its citizens combined than any other country on the planet. The mass incarceration is unreal. there are some crimes that you say yes, send them away. Don't unlock the gates. And then there are some in which, okay, perhaps they've learned their lesson, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
And
can't
there's
tell me that.
another, right?
What?
There's another governor that we should be watching out for. I'm talking about Kay Ivey, out of Alabama.
Oh, God.
She was taking COVID money and building detention centers and prisons for Geo and CoreCivic. Okay, COVID money, rerouting COVID money. And so this is a business for these people. And
Yeah.
so, and it's all relative to what's happening in Minnesota, because guess where they're taking those people that they're rounding up to privatize Geo and CoreCivic detention centers. And they're getting all of this federal money. And then you see stories coming out of Texas where children and families are yelling because they're freezing and they're getting millions of dollars and they can't even provide adequate in the middle of a storm.
It's not that they can't, they won't.
So, I mean, this is all relative.
Man. Oh boy. Folks, here's a very heartwarming story. Turns out it's a heartwarming story. It doesn't start that way, but for Rhea Holmes, it turned out heartwarming. She and her husband were approved for their dream home a few years back, but on the very day that the deal was accepted, he suddenly died, shattering the life that they had planned together. She used the money intended for the down payment to purchase a cemetery plot in Bentz, so she could remain close to him. Later, losing her job, falling into depression, and being evicted from her home with nowhere else to go, she spent months sleeping at her husband's gravesite until a Syracuse, New York police officer named Jamie Pastorella stepped in, securing temporary shelter and connected her to housing support that ultimately helped her obtain a permanent home. This story has lost, it has depression, and it has heroes, from a local cop to the president of Lemoyne College. The president of Lemoyne College, the cop called him first. And it just so happens that the students were on a break. And so he found a dorm room for her to stay in. And from that dorm room, they worked to get her permanent housing. And so they really looked out for this woman who had, I mean, could you imagine, Niall? They were going, her and her husband were going to, they had gotten approved, they went through the process, and they were going to sign the papers pretty much to move into their new home. And he drops dead. And she, obviously you see why anybody would plunge into a depression or a depressed state. And there she is with the officer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this story to me speaks about community.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up the local college, you brought up a police officer, and this is what we talk about when we say reimagining public safety. Now, some officers might have arrested this woman, right?
Yeah.
Because but this is what we say when we reimagine public safety, and what community is supposed to be. This is a prime example of what community should look like. You have, a private institution, you have community resources, and you have the police doing what they're supposed to do, which is public safety. Not look at this person as a threat or a nuisance, and putting them in the back of a car and throwing them into the system or antagonizing. Think about Sandra Bland. Think about other stories that you see. This is what community and public safety should look like. It should be modeled.
Yeah, that 100% right. That's what police officers should be for, right? That should be a big part of their job. Because on most police cars throughout the country, what does it say? Protect and serve.
Yeah. It's supposed to be public safety, not,
safety, right?
People shouldn't be afraid of the police.
Yeah, Brenda Phillips says, this is a story that makes you have hope. Yeah, I mean, protect and serve. He protected and served this woman. That's what, when they were yelling a few years ago, defund the police. This is what they meant. This is part of what they meant. It wasn't about not having officers. It was about reimagining, like you said, public safety, mental health, and things of that nature. So that's, I saw that and I said, man, we have to lift that up. We have to lift that up. And here's something else that's going on that we got. It's, if we don't lift it up, you're going to experience it anyway. You are experiencing it. And that is this organization, Trace One, has a new an analysis that shows grocery inflation has outpaced overall consumer prices since March of 2020, with food at home costs rising almost 30%, compared with a 25.6% increase for non-food items. Beef prices, for those who eat beef, surged the most, I should say. They led, it was led by beef roasts, which were up almost 74%, steaks up 57%, and ground beef up 52.5%. And they say that has been driven by drought, higher feed costs, and a reduced U.S. cattle supply. Eggs, of course, we know everybody's been complaining about the price of eggs for a while now. They rose almost 52% over the same period, but they did fall 13% from December 2024 to December 25. Households now spend an average of $681 per month on groceries. Wow. Or 43.5% of total food spending. The highest, I should say, cost is found in Mississippi, where households devote the largest share of consumer spending to groceries at 9.3%. So, food costs a lot.
Well, that's a headline that's being missed, right? Because we're feeling it. And then you see Donald Trump get on TV and tell you, oh, we're doing great. America is great. And when we go to the grocery store, we don't feel so great when we have to pay $3 for a tomato. Okay, a tomato, $3. You know what I'm saying? And add that to, you get it's real. And we can't even talk about those things. And then we're on the loom of a government shutdown, and they're not even talking about inflation. The only thing that's on the table is funding ICE. And that is the least of the American people's problem, is funding ICE. That's the last thing we need to be worried about, is funding ICE. We need to make livable wages for the American people. And I think when people go into the midterms, that is going to be ringing loud as a platform for these candidates. How do you make a decent way of living for the American people? Why is it that people go to work Monday through Friday and they still can't pay all their bills and buy groceries and maybe take their family out or to the movies? That is what the American people care about. They don't give a damn about no oil in Venezuela. They don't give a damn about no peace committee that you making up. They don't give a damn about ICE. They care about how can I live in this country and live in this country, live up to the American dream. They want their slice of the pie. That's what people care about. They don't give a damn about all this other stuff. I mean, that's all I got to say. But
you on a roll there.
Inflation is the talking point. That's what they should be arguing about on Capitol Hill right now, not how to fund ICE.
Right.
I mean, it's just insane that these elected officials are not paying attention to what is happening.
Yeah, unreal.
Which brings us to our next guest, who is going around the country talking to these elected officials about how to make America better and how they're doing it in all elements of government, from elected state officials to district attorneys. So let's bring in Michael J. Payton, who's back with another edition of Vision for Change. And this time he's talking to somebody out of California. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Niel. Good morning, Stacey. Good morning, Black people.
So have you been able? Can you afford your groceries?
I mean, listen. I mean, it's crazy. Like I remember going to the store and you know, you spend a couple $100, $150, you're coming out with like, you know, a month's worth of groceries. Now that's like maybe 3 or 4 days worth of groceries. Maybe if you go to, you know, if you're here in LA, you go to Ralph's or Vons or something. That's you barely getting for the groceries for the week. You know, it's tough out here, and you know, I mean, and I'm not you know, I make pretty good money, but it's still like, wow, I gotta really watch my basket. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. And so which brings us to vision of change. We're talking about reimagining what this country looks like, because we know we need change. We need change back. So let's take a look at this
politicians and other people exploiting the Black community as the basis for their own agenda.
What more can be done, I guess, to like really kind of help to kind of bridge that gap? Because I think that our communities are open and they want more policing, but there's still that apprehension there around law enforcement just because of the history. Like, what else can we do to kind of bridge that divide? Because I think our communities will benefit from it.
So I think it's twofold. So I have two, yes. Law enforcement has to embed itself in community. Community has to be open to sitting in space with law enforcement and being honest about why we often are apprehensive, why we don't trust, what the things are that we don't like that we see. Because I say it all the time, we want police, we want good policing, right? But the other part of this is I see too many politicians and other people exploiting the Black community as the basis for their own agenda. And what I mean is this. Every time, like I said, I go into the Black community across San Francisco, they tell me, we want more safety. We deserve more safety. If that means we want more cops, why don't they patrol at night here? Why don't they do more here? But yet voices are coming from people who don't look the same, saying Black people don't want police. Latino people don't want police. They are anti this. They are anti you.
Right.
We have to make sure that anybody who speaks for us is actually representing our interests. And so again, I don't go around speaking just for me. I have to elevate the voices of each community. Some communities are saying different things. And so I can distinguish very clearly what one wants versus another. Right. But we have to make sure we're both at the table to represent our own voice, but also holding accountable those who are saying something that's contrary to our very own interests. And that, I think, is a growing issue that I've tried to really confront because I see it happening more and more. I see too many politicians.
Wow. Now, who is that, Michael? Set up. Who is that?
Yeah. So that is District Attorney Brooke Jenkins. She is the District Attorney of San Francisco. She is only the second Black woman, woman of color, to be elected District Attorney of San Francisco, which is the exact same seat that catapulted Vice President Kamala Harris to her meteoric rise in politics. So it's a lot of, you know, attention and pressure that comes with being in that seat there, right? It's almost looked at as like the next stepping stone. But with Brooke, what DA Jenkins is doing out there is kind of what you all talked about in the previous segment. It's about reimagining public safety. And I think that when you have someone like her who is not really a traditional politician, really, because she is a mom. She is, you know, she doesn't really come from that world. And she's like, she just wants to make it better she wants the system to reflect what our communities want, like what good policing, with good law enforcement should look like for our communities. And I think it's hard work, but it's important work.
And San Francisco, can you tell us like maybe one or two of the challenges for people of color in San Francisco?
Oh, well, first of all, we're almost non-existent out there. I went to school at SF State for my undergrad. So when I was there, it was you know, you already kind of seen, you know, this is a long time ago, 2009, 2010, when I first started college there. But we had like a thriving Black community. We had, you know, culture. And I feel like you can see now today, like when you see Black folks in San Francisco, they're more likely to be, you know, on the streets, living on the streets. They're more likely to be somehow in contact with the system. And we're often criminalized, right? In San Francisco, there's such a small population, but we're overly criminalized. You go to Bayview Hunters Point, and you'll see like these young kids who are, bright, great young people. They just don't have opportunities. And I'll say the one thing that the district attorney is doing, I feel like it's very disruptive. And to y'all's point of reimagining public safety, she has a program called Access to Hope. So y'all understand like that a lot of times for people from our community, young Black folks and Black and brown folks, the first contact that you have with the law enforcement is you probably getting accosted or harassed or juvenile detention. And she wants to change that. She wants the first contact that young people from these communities have with law enforcement to be a positive one. So she created a program where from 14, I think, to like 18, 19, you guys can look it up and see, but it's taking young people, like, what is your interest? Oh, you want to do tech? Oh, you want to be, in the creative field? Here, we'll connect you with resources. We'll take you on trips. We'll take you to museums. They taking kids down south on this trip called the Sojourn Project, where they show kids and teach kids about the civil rights movement and the history of policing and why we have such a mistrust for police. They're young kids, 14 through like high school and some college, right? And they're given scholarships and internships, all from the DA's office. Mm-hmm. Now, again, usually a DA, the first contact is they're going to charge you with something, but instead she's trying to empower these young people with something, which I've never heard of it. Maybe they're doing it somewhere else, but I've never heard of it. And I think, again, that's how you reimagine public safety.
Dr. Marilyn says it's almost impossible to find affordable housing in San Francisco, and Nancy Wall says investing in our youth.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, and that's a big. The housing situation is insane in San Francisco. Very, very. We think it's crazy here in LA, but San Francisco is something else.
So what are some we know that it's going to air on Black Press USA and Let It Be Known. When does it drop? And what are some other reasons why somebody should pull up to Vision of Change with DA from out of San Francisco?
Yeah, so it's out now. It's out now on the Black Press USA YouTube channel. We should have it out on Spotify and everywhere you get podcasts within the next day or so. So y'all can check it out there. I think people should check it out and listen. Listen, we're in a time right now where, our communities and the community at large is not having such a great interaction with law enforcement. That's what you want to call this ICE thing, right? And I think it's important to understand that there's people like DA Jenkins who, is the district attorney in San Francisco, and there's Super Bowl coming up in San Francisco this week, right? And she's like, listen, y'all. If y'all come out here doing that bull jive, we gonna smash on y'all. Like, don't be clear. Like, we ain't having that ICE stuff out here. So I think it's important just to recognize that while law enforcement and community safety feels like it's under attack, there are people out there like DA Jenkins who is still holding the line and still trying to do her best and do their best to reimagine public safety and make sure our communities are safe for us and not just for some fascist regime.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody go take a look at it, like and subscribe to our channel, because Michael has a lot more Black voices from across the country that's, pushing the Black agenda. Thanks so much, Michael.
Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Stacy.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And as we talk about moving things forward, legacy civil rights organizations, the NAACP, Urban League, National Council of Negro Women, NAN, and others sent a letter to the Senate demanding a no vote on ICE and DHS operation funding. Now, amid the murders of Keith Porter, Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and the recent shooting just yesterday in Arizona. Somebody was shot yesterday in Arizona by ICE. They are saying no vote, which I think is good. But what I also found interesting is that the NAACP is now calling to abolish and defund ICE. Now, I think that's huge for the NAACP to make such a bold statement. But that is what Derek Johnson went across the country doing yesterday, saying, not, we need to stop it, but abolish.
Yeah. That's you're right. It's unusual for them to go that far. But you understand it. You certainly understand it. There are many ways in which you can have enforcement of if it's illegal immigration, undocumented. Because what's going on? Well, we know what's going on. Part of what's happened too is folks have court dates to get their citizenships, and they are grabbing them when they have their court dates.
Yeah.
So among so many other things. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
To have the NAACP call for the abolishment of ICE is really interesting.
That's huge, and hopefully the rest of these legacy organizations, because you see with the letters submitted to Senate, they've been talking. We were just on a call yesterday, and they were like, there are these group chats with these civil rights leaders. So, we started off talking about, Representative Omar, and, talking about how, they're doing the work. That's why she got sprayed, yesterday. They're doing the work. And these legacy organizations are doing the work. And so hopefully, we'll see how things go. But also don't forget, on Friday, January 30th, it's the ICE Out blackout. And so they're saying no school, no work, no buying. And you see some of these legacy organizations, as well as, groups like Until Freedom, Tamika Mallory, Black Lives Matter, they're all posting this. So it is growing. So if you want to participate, make sure you get all your stuff between today and tomorrow, and send a message to the 1% and to the Trump clan. Let's head to Colorado, where Black lawmakers are not always on the up and up. Aurora City Councilman Rob Andrews rejected calls to resign on Monday night during his first city council meeting after his arrest on suspicion of drunk driving. Now, police body camera footage and arrest records showed Andrews had a blood alcohol content of more than 3 times the legal limit, and asked the officers how to keep the arrest from becoming public. Okay, that's what he wanted to do. So, and here's the kicker. Andrews chairs the council's public safety committee. Now, he was elected to the council in November as part of a progressive wave that resulted in a 6-4 liberal majority on the council. And his fellow progressives seem to be supporting him because they refused to say he should resign at the council meeting. So the question is, does he get a pass, or boy, you got to go?
Look, hey.
Is that enough? Is that enough to say no more, or do you give him a pass? But the fact that he said, how can we keep this quiet?
Well, he was embarrassed about that. But here's the thing: if he gets to keep his council seat, which he is a case in which he can keep his council seat, there's no way that he should be on the Public Safety Commission.
He
has to be removed. Yeah.
You could say maybe you should be on the chair of the Alcohol Anonymous Committee. But not public safety, bro. That's not.
Yeah.
Now, even if he would have got arrested and not said that, then maybe. Okay, you got drunk. You said, but I'm about to say something. But you should not have done that. Said that.
his council seat depends on the charges, because keep this quiet, bro, is just can we keep this quiet is kind of
right,
diabolical. But his council seat legally is safe unless there's a felony charge, right? This is not felony drunk driving, is it? It's just a drunk driving charge. I don't know that it rises to a felony. I don't know what the statute there and that part is, but I think because he's an elected official, based on how that works, it would have to be he would have to resign, or it would be a felony conviction, I believe.
Or have you ever been to city council a meeting, them council comments from
Oh
the
gosh.
public? If
Oh
he
my
does,
gosh.
if he don't fill a pothole or fill in some sidewalk or put a light bulb in the light pole, he could get some crazy city comments
Let me
at
tell
city
you,
council members.
I know all about those. I covered Scranton, Pennsylvania City Council for a few years, and there was nothing in America like
The
this.
city council. I mean, I've watched city council members get cussed out, called bitches.
Oh my God. I've seen it from both sides. Yeah, I've seen it from both sides. The council going crazy.
Oh yeah, sometimes they have enough. You know, then
Yeah.
they sit up and listen to these people for about 9 weeks. On that 10th week, they look here. What we not gonna do today. So if you want to just, you know, and I think everybody should experience their local city council
Oh
meeting.
my God. I don't
They're
know about
boring.
that.
They're boring, but they're also colorful. And you learn a lot, but what you learn is people power. You do have a right to speak up. You do have a right to say something. And sometimes those things that you say become a light bulb moment for city council members. So if you can, you know what I'm saying, you should just experience one,
my
because
God.
that's when you realize, oh, they really do work for us. Because they have
Oh my, the city council in Scranton, like I said, from the top, in the 2000s, forget about it. It was off the chain, Niel. I think we lost Niel. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, heck, I wanted her to finish. I wanted to hear what she had to say. A black here's a story that I found to be very interesting too. Perhaps you will as well. Black grandmother found safe after going missing for days. Annie Stokes, 87-year-old African American from Pascagoula. Did I say that right? You guys in Mississippi, was reported missing and later found safe inside a Walmart after several days of searching. Her family confirmed she was in good health after authorities and local residents helped locate her. Mrs. Stokes was last seen on Tuesday, January 20th in Jackson County. When she didn't return home, officials issued a missing person alert and began searching surrounding communities. The search came to an end just this past Monday when authorities found her inside a Walmart. Police confirmed that she was safe, and they contacted her family shortly after. They haven't given any further explanation that surrounds her disappearance. So at least it wasn't immediately available. But, you know, everyone's glad, and certainly we're glad that Mrs. Stokes is safe and sound and back with her family. But could you imagine just your 87-year-old mom or 87-year-old grandmom going missing like this? There's no reports connecting her to, and I don't know if she has like dementia or Alzheimer's or anything like that. Just gave us the authorities have only given out bare facts in this particular case, but it is really, really good to know that they were able to find her. So, hey, there you go. We have another really positive police interaction story. We can use a lot more of those, don't you think? we could absolutely use a lot more. I think Niel's having some issues there, so she should be joining us back shortly. But Destin Forever says that I've been to some lively county commissioner meetings too, right, and school board meetings, but none compared to being at a meeting with the late council member Eric Mays. God rest his soul, she says. Yeah, if you want to go back to that council meetings, unbelievable stuff that goes on in your city councils. People threatening to fight each other, including council members threatening to fight each other. So lots going on there. But the Super Bowl she mentioned, there's a couple of things going on with the Super Bowl controversy, contrived controversy maybe. There's this poster that was released by the NFL back in September, and now all of the internet detectives are noting that the two quarterbacks that are in the Super Bowl from New England and from Seattle, well, they had a line of all these quarterbacks. They were in the front next to the Super Bowl trophy. This is back in September, and neither New England or Seattle were anything close to being favorites to go to the Super Bowl. So the conspiracy theorists say that this was all a setup. I'm not here for it. I know Greer is a big conspiracy theorist. I don't know if she's, when it comes to sports, but she's a conspiracy theorist.
Well, but let me tell you what I will say. I'll say this. When they announced the Super Bowl recently, like, oh, so that these two teams are going, it was, look at this poster. When's the last time you see a poster look like this?
Very suspicious.
Right. Look at that picture. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy, but I'm just saying, look at that. I mean, come on.
Listen, yeah, that's what they have been saying all across the web, that this is some sort of setup by the NFL. But Niele is really struggling with her connection. So whether even in LA, right? So let's go through some black facts before we get out of here then. On this date in 1960, Zora Neale Hurston, the renowned author and anthropologist and filmmaker known for Their Eyes Were Watching God, passed away in Fort Pierce, Florida. That was a big loss for everyone to hear that Zora Neale Hurston had died. So that's our black fact for today. We will get Niele back tomorrow, and hopefully you guys will join us again tomorrow on Let It Be Known. Thanks for watching.